Exactly what transpired following the most recent attack on Caitlin Clark is depicted in newly released film. Additionally, it exposes information that the WNBA would want you not to see. During the Indiana Fever's intense game against the Connecticut Sun, Sophie Cunningham's protective instincts for teammate Caitlin Clark were made very evident. Her actions showed a deep loyalty that went beyond normal teammate connections.
So it's really people out here defending Marina Mabrey for Madden hit sticking Caitlin Clark to the floor, saying that she's just protecting her teammate. For one, it involved Caitlin Clark and JC Sheldon. They had their little spiel before that. And then JC Sheldon scratches Clark in the face, then invades her space after that. Clark pushes her away because of that. And then Marina Mabrey comes get involved and Madden hit sticks her to the floor, man. And y'all just like she was protecting her teammate. But then Sophie Cunningham is getting called vile and disgusting for dropping JC Sheldon to the floor and dragging her by the hair. So Sophie Cunningham can't stick up for her teammate, or else it's vile and disgusting. But Marina Mabrey could get involved in something that didn't involve her, and it's just she was protecting her teammate. The Caitlin Clark hate is so forced.
During Tuesday night's game against the Connecticut Sun, Indiana Fever enforcer Sophie Cunningham wasn't merely defending her teammate. Coaches were physically restraining her while she attempted to protect the league's top star from JC Sheldon, a player who has been attempting to irritate Clark since their college days.
The greatest thing I saw tonight was Sophie Cunningham. Thank you. Sophie Cunningham was about to give she's about to give her the Stone Cold Stunner, bro. I'm gonna put it right here, bro. She was gripping JC Sheldon and straight bumped her. She was straight grabbing her hair and was talking shit while doing it. That's what I'm talking about. That's how you become a teammate. That's a road dog. That's a real teammate, bro. See, what made me mad the play before, Howard, none of them jokers didn't stick up for Caitlin Clark. But that's how you stick up for Caitlin Clark. That's how you fight for your teammates. That's how you...
This is the tea that no one at the league office wants you to drink. In Tuesday's game, Caitlin Clark wasn't just arbitrarily fouled. Players who appeared more interested in playing WWE than basketball methodically targeted her, poked her in the eye, pushed her to the ground, and beat her down. As if they were being bribed to turn a blind eye, the referees saw it all take place. However, something different occurred this time. Sophie Cunningham made the decision that enough was enough this time.
When that play actually took place, Sophie Cunningham was ready to jump off the bench right then and there. Sophie was ready to jump off the bench right then and there. Look at this. Boom, Marina Mabrey gets hit. And then what do you see right here? You see the picture. You see the picture on the left-hand side over there. Yeah, Austin Kelly holding Sophie Cunningham back. Hey, Sophie, we're I know you want to get after it. I know you're about that action, but you got to stay right here on the sideline. Seriously, no one can say Caitlin Clark isn't targeted. Girl just got poked to the eye, thrown to the ground, and was still given a technical foul. Marina Mabrey was not ejected. These officials are absolutely...
The smoking gun tape captures the precise moment during the third quarter when JCS Sheldon, the Suns guard who has been Clark's adversary since their college days, purposefully poked Clark in the eye. Marina Mabrey charged in like a bull seeing red, pushing Clark hard to the ground while he flinched in agony and shoved Sheldon away. At Gamebridge Fieldhouse, the crowd erupted in alcohol. We saw Sophie Cunningham leaping from the bench with rage in her eyes at that point, only to be seized by assistant coaches who were fully aware of what was going to happen.
Sophie Cunningham did exactly what the fuck needed to be done last night. And I love that for her. Because what y'all not gonna do, for one, Connecticut had no chance of winning that game, but what y'all not gonna do is decide to play dirty, to play violent because y'all getting smacked by the Indiana Fever. Y'all had no chance, they had no chance of winning that game anyway. So all they resorted to was just playing fucking dirty. And shit, Sophie Cunningham said, well, shit, that's why they brought me over here. So I'm about to do what they brought me over.
This is where things start to get interesting, though. Cunningham was clearly furious on the sidelines, frequently attempting to escape the coaching staff's control, according to a number of sources, including spectators who watched the game. She can be seen mouthing words that are easy to understand without the use of a lip-reading specialist. My teammate is that. That's sufficient. The coaches were aware of the impending situation. A defensive fury that would eventually erupt in the last minute of play as Cunningham was given her opportunity to exact revenge.
Yo, Sophia, my apologies. You should have had the second jersey WNBA I bought. I did not know that you were so proficient in holding the back of a girl's head while talking shit to her. She defended Caitlin Clark from that flagrant foul, which they didn't call flagrant for some reason last night. And she had her titled up. And then the rest of the Don Imus crew came up and tried to, separate it and whatever. But let me just tell y'all this. Sophie Cunningham, thank you for defending Caitlin Clark. Somebody in the WNBA has to protect the brand, and it's not going to be the EBT members. So thank you for protecting the greatest female basketball player of all time.
Subscribe if you're enjoying it. This incident's timing couldn't be more telling for the WNBA, and to be honest, they are deserving of all the criticism that is being directed at them. Since numbers don't lie like WNBA officials seem to, let's talk about the numbers. Since Sophie Cunningham defended Clark, the league's website has sold out of her jersey. It isn't merely a coincidence. In other words, Indiana fans are honoring and appreciating the one player who is prepared to speak out against the league's treatment of their golden goose.
In case you guys don't know yet, Sophie Cunningham's jersey, oh yeah, Fever fans spend that bread, folks. Sophie Cunningham's jersey, out of stock. Look at that, no size in stock. A small, a medium, a large, an extra large, a double XL. You're gonna have to get one custom made. Sophie Cunningham stands up for Caitlin Clark, and overnight, her jerseys are selling like hot.
On Wednesday morning, Stephen A. Smith and Monica McNutt broadcast what may have been the most tone-deaf commentary in the history of sports journalism. They had the nerve to claim that Clark deserved the abuse because, wait for it, she talks trash, rather than admitting that the league's top star was routinely targeted. She's also somebody like Larry Bird, shooting the lights out and stuff like that, and we're just talking garbage, Smith said, drawing a comparison between Clark and Bird. That also applies to Caitlin Clark. Translation: Clark is to blame. They're assaulting her on national TV. It's almost laughable how obvious the victim blaming is.
And you see a little shove here and there, you see her throwing a little elbow here and there, you see her talking smack. Caitlin Clark does this. So, on top of the fact that she can play, because the girl's a shooter, and she's an assist maven as well, leading the league in assists and stuff like that. She's special, 4th in league MVP honors last year, Rookie of the Year. But she's also somebody, Doggy, you will appreciate this, kind of like Larry Bird was. When Larry Bird shooting the lights out and stuff like that, but Larry Bird also...
However, let's discuss the officiating, the league's response, and the true offense here. I started talking to officials in the first quarter, and we knew this was going to happen. Coach Stephanie White said, pointing it out bluntly. You were aware that this would occur. They were able to take charge of it. They must be improved. She drew attention to the fact that referees have been permitting players, especially Clark, to be physically targeted throughout the season. At this point, the message was very apparent. Clark's teammates would have to defend her on their own because the officials would not. That's just what Sophie Cunningham accomplished. Cunningham noticed Sheldon, the player who had earlier poked Clark in the eye, sprinting down the court for a quick break with less than a minute remaining in the game and the Fever leading by 17 points. Cunningham used her Taekwondo black belt training in a moment that will go down in WNBA history. Yes, she was the youngest black belt in Missouri at the time, having achieved it at the age of 6. She then performed what martial arts experts refer to as a textbook tie clinch, encircling Sheldon and bringing her to the ground.
Definitely the W, especially if Sophie Cunningham is going to continue to fight people for messing with Caitlin Clark, because it feels like Caitlin Clark is going to get treated in a certain way in this league for a long time. She's not a rookie anymore, okay? She's already proved herself. She's won. And then there were some, ladies last night that were trying to go a little physical.
Mm-hmm.
And in last year, I think something we noticed, and I think a lot of people noticed, is when Caitlin would get bullied, nobody would do nothing.
That's right.
Nobody would do nothing. It was like, hey, they didn't know, like, whoa, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe people are doing this to Caitlin Clark. Teammates weren't jumping in there. They bring in Sophie Cunningham. I had no idea. Sophie Cunningham was a black belt at the age of 6.
Yeah. Yep.
Boom!
Wow.
JC Sheldon, that's cute. You want to poke her in the eye, then push her into a boom Mabry thing? Go ahead. I'll take a take foul, and you'll eat the deck a little bit here.
The fallout was foreseeable. Cunningham, Sheldon, and Lindsay Allen were all sent off the field after receiving a flagrant 2 foul. However, the message had been made quite plain. You will have to answer to Sophie Cunningham if you mess with Caitlin Clark. As Cunningham departed the court, the Gambridge Fieldhouse audience recognized that they were seeing the beginning of something extraordinary and gave her a standing ovation. An enforcer who was willing to risk her life to safeguard the franchise's future. The WNBA's reaction to this story is what enrages me even more. The league announced on Wednesday that Marina Mabrey, who had pushed Clark to the ground in the third quarter, would only have her technical foul increased to a flagrant 2, which would also result in a punishment, while Cunningham would be penalized for her actions. Yes, the same penalty for 2 quite different behaviors. It was decided that Mabrey's unsolicited rear attack on Clark was comparable to Cunningham's defensive action. It would be impossible to make the double standard more blatant.
This is Sophie Cunningham X account, and just like I stated, guys, she's been pretty vocal all day, sending little subliminals on social media. Well, she made it her business to retweet some of this drama that has been displayed online. Now, if you guys haven't heard, the Marina Mabrey situation has been upgraded to a flagrant 2 foul, man, and she should have got suspended. Marina Mabrey should have been suspended in some.
However, the WNBA is unaware of this. They have unintentionally produced a hero. Sophie Cunningham has evolved beyond her role as a player. She represents all that the Fever supporters have been longing for. This is the best player Indiana has ever had. Someone who is both skilled and adamant about not letting her teammates, especially the franchise's cornerstone, be treated unfairly. Sophie Cunningham is precisely what Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever needed. One fan wrote, "She exudes courage. Sophie confronts while Marina strikes and backs off." The complete story is revealed by the jersey sales. Sophie Cunningham's jersey sold out on the WNBA website just hours before Tuesday night's game. By voting with their money, Fever supporters are demonstrating how much they respect a player who will defend their hero. These days, it's more than simply basketball. It's about loyalty, safety, and letting the rest of the league know that utilizing Clark as a punching bag is no longer an option.
My God, this is exactly why the Fever brought in Sophie Cunningham, whether you like it or not, the enforcer. And the WNBA officials were not prepared to handle this moment. Now, he's retweeting this and insinuating, he's insinuating that she's racist. That's how can you say an incident between 2 Caucasian ladies are racist? Make it make sense.
There is much more to emerging as Clark's guardian than just selling jerseys. Fans are attending the Fever's games with an unusual level of curiosity, especially to witness the relationship between Clark and her new bodyguard. This goes beyond basketball. The league's biggest star finally getting the protection she deserves is at the center of an entire economic ecosystem. The WNBA only needed to safeguard their investment. Rather, they have compelled the Fever to create Sophie Cunningham, their own internal security system.
You effed around and found out, didn't you? Yep. I'm all for getting that lick back. Sophie wasn't trying to hide nothing. She wasn't trying to, disguise it. She was looking at you the entire time you drove. She knew exactly what she was going to do, and she knew exactly what she was going to do when you stood up. See, that's how you handle business. They brought you there, Sophie Cunningham, to be the enforcer for Caitlin Clark, and that's exactly what you're doing. Hey, man, one thing you can say about the WNBA, there ain't no punks. You know what I mean? There ain't no punks. But these refs are horrible. These refs are trash. Like, I just found out that y'all gave Caitlin Clark a tech and you didn't even throw Marina out for that.
The fact that ESPN, the network tasked with marketing women's basketball, appears to be deliberately working against Clark's interests is especially troubling. Monica McNett, who notably argued angrily with Stephen A. Smith about the network's lack of coverage of the WNBA prior to Clark's arrival, now has the gall to say that Clark is causing her own physical harm. The WNBA games that feature Clark are drawing record numbers for this same network. However, they are unable to confront the blatant targeting that is taking place in front of them. The irony is obvious. A league that badly needs stars, attention, and revenue let its biggest player get injured through a combination of dirty play and incompetent officiating. The one player who had the guts to speak up and say no more is now being punished.
And then this would happen. Here we go. We got Sophie Cunningham with a hard foul on Sheldon, and now we got all this again.
And I mentioned Sophie Cunningham goes back to her days at Missouri. Another trash talker, agitator, intense defender, intense player. And so, again, J.C. Sheldon's not going to back down. I didn't love the way that this one was adjudicated. Sophie Cunningham was ejected, as was Lindsay Allen and J.C. Sheldon, I believe. I thought Sophie should have been ejected.
However, they are unaware that they have produced an uncontrollable entity. A sincere bond between supporters and a player who exemplifies the protective instinct that all teammates ought to possess. Cunningham's addition filled a specific need that had been seen during the previous season, when Clark was subjected to physical abuse without sufficient teammate assistance. According to one expert, no one took any action when Caitlin was being bullied last year. That dynamic was entirely altered by Cunningham's entrance. Sophie Cunningham's devotion to Caitlin Clark was demonstrated by her readiness to put her own performance on the line, risk being kicked out, pay fines, and maybe be suspended in order to let her teammate know she had her full support. She showed that it took more than basketball strategy to keep Clark safe. It was about respect, commitment, and the kind of intense devotion that made teammates feel like family. In Indianapolis, the martial arts-trained guard had discovered her calling, protecting the biggest star in the league at all costs.
Everything that happened last night between the Indiana Fever and the Connecticut Sun with Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, Mabry, and Sheldon, all of it, it is so good for the WNBA, dude. Never in a million years would I have thought I would find myself feeling compelled to turn on a WNBA game at the same time as a Stanley Cup game in which one of the teams has the opportunity to win the best trophy in professional sports. Never in a million years would I have thought I would feel compelled to turn on that WNBA game that's going on at the same time and find myself watching it and yelling, "Drag her ass," as Sophie Cunningham is tackling Sheldon to the floor. Love it, dude. It's so good. It's so good. The WNBA has needed, and the Fever more specifically, but just in general, the WNBA has needed a Sophie Cunningham so badly. And for the record, every single team.
Expect a thunderous reception when Cunningham takes the court again for the Fever's next game. In addition to her willingness to defend Clark, fans have discovered their new hero because she embodies a quality that the Fever has lacked for many years: courage, heart, and a resolute refusal to give up. Sophie Cunningham may have been held back by the coaches during the third quarter, but she stepped up and took the necessary action when it counted most. There's little doubt that Sophie Cunningham, a black belt, enforcer, and fan favorite, will be watching, waiting, and prepared to defend the future of women's basketball the next time an opponent considers throwing a cheap shot at Caitlin Clark. Instead of creating a villain, the WNBA built a hero whose jersey is sold out for a reason.